Delphi, Indiana, is a quaint historic town known for its scenic beauty. Nestled in Carroll County, it's a close-knit community with charming trails and landmarks. Despite its peaceful exterior, the town faced a shocking event in 2017 that deeply affected its residents and drew national attention.
This is breaking news from Channel 13 Eyewitness
We have
News.
nobody in custody at this time. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, there is somebody out there that did this horrendous crime, and we're going to track him down.
Abby Williams and Libby German were two young girls from Delphi, Indiana, whose tragic deaths shocked the nation. On February 13, 2017, Abby, then 13 years old, and Libby, 14, went for a hike on the Delphi historic trails. They had agreed to meet a family member near the entrance to the Delphi historic trails to pick them up. They were specifically going to be at the trailhead by the Monon High Bridge. However, when they did not arrive at the designated time, the families began searching the area and eventually reported them missing to the authorities. Following the report, the authorities prompted a coordinated search effort. Local volunteers, law enforcement, and the fire department personnel combed the area. They focused on the trails and the Monon High Bridge where the girls were last seen. Despite extensive efforts, the search was called off due to darkness and resumed the following morning. The next day, February 14, 2017, the search for Abby Williams and Libby German resumed in the morning with increased efforts from law enforcement, volunteers, and community members. During the search, their bodies were tragically discovered around noon in a wooded area near Deer Creek. It wasn't far from the Monon High Bridge where they had been hiking the previous day.
Investigators solemnly identified the two bodies found in Carroll County as 13-year-olds Libby German and Abby Williams. Now, we still don't know what happened to them after they disappeared during an afternoon hiking trip.
The discovery of the girls' bodies confirmed the worst fears of their families and the community, marking the beginning of a major investigation into their deaths. Law enforcement immediately secured the area to preserve any potential evidence and began the painstaking process of piecing together what had happened. The news of their deaths quickly spread, sending shockwaves through the small town of Delphi and beyond. The next day, on February 15, 2017, law enforcement released a photograph of a man seen walking on the Monon High Bridge around the time Abby and Libby were there. This image was extracted from Libby German's cell phone, suggesting that the girls had encountered this individual shortly before their deaths. In the following days, a brief audio clip from Libby's phone was also released. This is that clip. This marked a major development in the investigation and drew national attention to the case. On July 17, 2017, the first sketch of the suspect in the Delphi murders was released by the Indiana State Police, several months after the tragic deaths of Abby Williams and Libby German.
Indiana State Police believe this image could be the key to solving the murders of two Delphi girls. Today, detectives released this detailed sketch of what they believe the man who murdered Libby German and Abby Williams really looks like.
This initial sketch depicted an older-looking man with a goatee and a cap, based on the photograph from the victim's phone. The man appeared to be in his 40s to 50s, with a medium build and wearing a hooded sweatshirt and jeans. This sketch, combined with the previously released photograph and audio clip of the suspect, was intended to generate leads from the public.
The new sketch of the suspect popped up on cell phones across Delphi. Everyone, like Mike Patty, wishing they recognized the man.
Absolutely. I looked at it very, very intently, trying to figure out if I knew this person.
5'6" to 5'10", 200 pounds, give or take 20, and reddish-brown hair. It is by far the best image and description of the suspected killer.
I'm thinking that somebody out there should definitely know now. Very clear, very detailed picture, like you said. And I'm hoping that whoever knows that person will make that call quickly.
The police hoped that it would aid in identifying the individual who was seen on the Monon High Bridge around the time of the girl's disappearance.
This afternoon, we're getting a new look at the person who police say committed the crime. For the first time, we're able to show you a new sketch released minutes ago.
A second sketch, released in April 2019, depicted a man in his late teens to early 20s, which was a significant departure from the first sketch showing an older man. Investigators received new witness information that led them to believe the suspect might appear younger than initially thought. This information prompted them to create a new sketch that more accurately reflected these updated descriptions. This new image was accompanied by a longer version of the audio clip captured on Libby's phone, further emphasizing the call for public assistance in identifying the suspect.
Troopers also, for the first time ever, showed the public the full video taken from one of the girls' cell phones. It shows the suspect walking on the old railroad bridge, police asking the public to focus on the specifics of his walk. We also now have the first full audio clip of the man's voice. Watch closely and listen carefully this afternoon as we play the video and audio for the first time.
During the course of the investigation into this murder, a number of people were suspected and questioned. The following is a list of people that were suspected by the police of having committed this heinous crime. Ronald Ron Logan was a farmer who owned the land near Delphi, Indiana, where the two teenage girls were tragically murdered. He had owned this land for 50 years. Authorities executed a search warrant on Logan's farm after the discovery of the girls' bodies.
The crime scene Thursday, a place property owner Ron Logan knows well, but never thought he would know for something so tragic.
I can't really wrap my emotions around it yet. It's so mind-boggling. I haven't really caught up. It hasn't caught up with me yet.
Up and down the hills, across that bank now circled with crime tape, his son grew up playing here.
Never in your wildest dreams do you think that he comes down here to play, he won't come back home.
The warrant indicated that the bodies were moved and staged, and a significant amount of blood was lost at the crime scene. Logan claimed that he was driven to an aquarium store by a friend and later had visited a local bank to conduct some business.
You just cannot believe this terrible thing that happened to the community and the families actually happened here on my property in my backyard.
He claimed he had an alibi, buying tropical fish 20 miles away.
I was not home during the time that all this was happening. I was in Lafayette.
Yeah.
And I didn't get home till approximately 6:30 in the evening, and then the neighbor stopped to ask for permission to look back here for the girls.
But Logan's cell phone data placed him near the murder scene on that afternoon. His alibi did not hold up, and he was suspected of intentionally deceiving law enforcement officers. He did have a violent past with the women and was arrested on a probation violation related to an unrelated 2014 operating while intoxicated charge. He was therefore investigated due to inconsistencies in his alibi and past criminal behavior, including violations related to driving under the influence. Despite initial reports connecting Logan to the Delphi murders, the Indiana State Police clarified that he was not involved in the case. Logan died on January 24, 2022, reportedly due to COVID-19. Daniel Nations was a person of interest in the Delphi murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. He is a registered sex offender with a history of criminal activity. At one point in time, he lived in Indiana, but had later moved to Colorado.
At 6, Indiana State Police are looking into a possible connection between an Indiana man arrested in Colorado and the murders of Abby Williams and Libby German in Delphi 7 months ago. The man under arrest is Daniel Nations, accused of threatening hikers on a trail in Colorado.
In September 2017, Nations faced charges in Colorado for threatening people with a hatchet on a rural trail. He and his wife were seen driving a car that matched one belonging to a man who had threatened hikers with a hatchet near the same trail where another man had been murdered.
Daniel James Nations has enough mugshots to cover a wall. Arrested in Bartholomew, Hendricks, Johnson, Marion, and Morgan counties since 2014. The 31-year-old has been running from police since July. Deputies have been looking for him because he failed to register as a sex offender with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office. He was forced on the registry in 2007 after he exposed himself to a woman in a parking lot in South Carolina. Nations is currently in custody, accused of threatening someone with a hatchet on Monday along a trail in Colorado. His mugshot and criminal record drew the attention of investigators on the case of Libby German and Abby Williams, both girls killed in Delphi this past February.
Due to similarities in his appearance to the suspect's sketch and his criminal background, he was considered a person of interest by the Indiana State Police. However, a lack of further evidence prevented his arrest in the connection with the Delphi case. Charles Andrew Eldridge, a 46-year-old man, was another person of interest in the Delphi murders. Eldridge had been arrested in 2019 for soliciting sex from a police officer who was posing as a teenager online.
This 46-year-old man is being investigated for possible links to the murders of 14-year-old Abigail Williams and her best friend Libby German. Charles Andrew Eldridge, a former security guard, was caught in a police sting operation allegedly arranging to meet a 13-year-old girl for sex. Look, his police mugshot bears a striking resemblance to this FBI sketch of the killer. And compare this photo of the suspected killer taken by Libby minutes before the murders with this photo of Eldridge. They have similar builds. There even appears to be a similar rip in the blue jeans in each photo.
His mugshot bore a resemblance to one of the suspect's sketches released by the police, prompting further investigation. However, Eldridge has not been charged in connection with the Delphi murders, and no definitive evidence has linked him to the crime. James Brian Chadwell II is a 42-year-old man from Lafayette, Indiana, who became a person of interest in the Delphi murders. In an investigation unrelated to the Delphi murders, on April 19, 2021, Chadwell was arrested after police found an injured, missing 9-year-old girl in his basement. The probable cause affidavit accuses Chadwell of choking and sexually assaulting the girl, then locking her in his basement. He pleaded guilty to attempted murder and child molesting and was sentenced to 90 years in prison.
A potential major development in the Down the Hill killings. 4 years ago, 2 teenage girls were murdered after crossing a train bridge in Delphi, Indiana. Now, a man has been arrested nearby for abducting a 9-year-old girl and locking her in his basement. Is there a connection?
Authorities in nearby Delphi, which is only 15 miles away, began investigating Chadwell as a possible suspect in the 2017 Delphi murders. What's striking about this suspect is that Chadwell has chilling tattoos of girls' faces on his arms. Locals also noted that his mugshot bore a striking resemblance to one of the FBI sketches of the possible suspect. However, although the police investigated any Chadwell's potential links to the Delphi case, there was no public confirmation of any connection. Keegan Anthony Klein is an individual facing numerous charges related to child exploitation and possession of child pornography. Klein admitted to communicating with Liberty German, one of the 2 teenagers. He used the Snapchat and Instagram handle Anthony_shots to talk with Libby. Klein faced a total of 30 felony charges unrelated to the Delphi murders. These charges included possession of child pornography, child exploitation, synthetic identity deception, and obstruction of justice.
Investigators say Klein communicated with Libby German through a fake social media profile right before she and Abby Williams were killed in Delphi.
Now remember, Klein has never been charged in the Delphi case, but he did plead guilty in a separate child solicitation investigation. And today, a judge sentenced him to 43 years, with 40 of those in the Department of Correction and 3 suspended to probation.
Law enforcement uncovered evidence of Klein's child-related crimes while investigating the Delphi case. However, he was eventually cleared in connection to the young girls' murders and was not named as a suspect in their case. Richard Allen, a local pharmacy employee, was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder in connection to the Delphi case in October 2022. When interviewed by the police in 2017, Allen stated that he was on the hiking trail on the afternoon of the murders. In another interview in October 2022, Allen again admitted on being on the trail, but denied knowing the victims or any involvement in their deaths. The investigating officers noted that Allen consistently placed himself at the scene, particularly on the bridge where the girls were killed. Video recovered from one of the victims' phones captured Abby or Libby mentioning the word gun as a man approached them. Incidentally, an unspent .40 caliber round was found less than 2 feet away from one of the girls' bodies. Ballistic testing confirmed that this unspent round came from a gun owned by Allen, a Sig Sauer model P226 .40 caliber pistol.
Investigators are relying on a single unspent bullet to put Richard Allen at the scene where Libby and Abby's bodies were found.
The probable cause affidavit for Richard Allen says the Indiana State Police Laboratory determined the unspent round has been cycled through Richard Allen's Sig Sauer P226. This is what the handgun looks like. Retired IMPD Detective Sergeant Greg Arkins tells us when a round or shell casing is ejected from a firearm, that leaves distinct marks, even if it isn't fired.
An unspent bullet means that the casing and the projectile remain intact, indicating that the gun either jammed or the bullet was faulty. During a search of Allen's home, officers discovered knives and guns, including the aforementioned .40 caliber pistol, and the unspent bullet found near the victims matched the gun found inside Allen's residence.
Now, this is one of these new documents that we got today, that search warrant, and according to that, they seized a handgun and several bullet cartridges. You may remember investigators claimed that a bullet found between the girls' bodies had been cycled through Richard Allen's gun. Also in that warrant, they seized 13 different knives along with shoes, several pieces of clothing, numerous electronic devices, as well as a piece of carpet that was cut from his car. Now, the warrant...
On June 29, 2023, as per the unsealed 118 documents in the case against Allen by Judge Francis Gall, Allen allegedly told his wife and mother no less than 5 times that he was responsible for killing Abby and Libby.
Yet, prosecutors in Indiana stated that Allen confessed 5 or 6 times to killing these girls, but his attorneys say that those statements cannot be trusted due to his mental state.
The records also revealed that investigators believed a knife was used in the killings. The investigation into his possible involvement in the murders is still ongoing as of the posting of this video. It's important to acknowledge that the investigation into the tragic deaths of Abigail Williams and Liberty German has not yet concluded. Despite the passage of time, law enforcement agencies remain committed to tirelessly pursuing justice for the victims and their families. The Delphi community continues to stand united in solidarity, determined to bring closure to this heartbreaking case.